All right, Jana, we'll get the meeting started. We'll kick it off if you don't mind bringing up the presentation. Well, good evening all, and welcome to the Perry Hall Manor Sewer Extension Project Community Meeting. I'm DeAndrea Walker, the Acting Director for DPW&T. I want to welcome you and thank you for attending this very important meeting this evening. We have multiple staff members here that have come to deliver a presentation to give you some background on how we arrived at this decision and your options as it relates to connection to this sewer system. The staff has done some detailed review in putting this presentation together. So without further ado, we'll do introductions of the staff that will be presenting to you this evening, and then we'll cover the meeting format. And we'll start with our Deputy Director, Lauren.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Buckler. I'm the Deputy Director for Department of Public Works and Transportation. I'm going to pass it over to Tom.
Good evening. My name is Tom Flagg. I'm the Acting Chief for Metropolitan District Financing. I'll pass it over to Jess.
Hi, I'm Jessica Connors from the Metro District Financing and Petitions Office. I'm the Metro Customer Service Manager and handle the administrative and financing duties for this project. I will pass it to Kevin.
Hi, my name is Kevin Kepnick. I am the Manager for Groundwater Management in the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability, and I oversee the well and septic programs. Lisa?
I'm Lisa Eichholtz. I'm the Chief of Sanitary Sewer Design with the Department of Public Works and Transportation. Carlos?
Hi, I'm Carlos Vidal. I'll be the project manager overseeing the design of this project. I work with the sewer design section. Jana?
Thank you. I'm Jana Guerrero, and I'm the project manager of the communications phase of the project. And I'd like to pass it back over to Lauren to describe more about the format for the meeting.
Good evening again. So we understand everybody's got a lot of questions, and we want to make sure that we're explaining how you get those answered. So there is a chat feature at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You should see a Q&A box. You can chat in there, and if you chat to all of the presenters, we'll all see the question, and that helps us get to them at the end of the presentation and get them to the right technical person that can answer. Your peers on the call cannot see the questions. They can't see who's asking the questions. They're anonymous. And the recording, this is being recorded, this will be available, and that won't show who asked the questions either. If you have questions you don't want to ask in this setting or are very specific to your property, there's an email and a website up on your screen right now. Please feel free to reach out through those forms of communication, and we will get back to you. If we can't answer it tonight, we will get back to you as a follow-up from this meeting as well. Next slide, Jana. Tonight, we're going to go through the project overview. We're going to have some comments from Councilman Marks, and then we'll get into the details, the technical information on the background and justification for the project, the cost, the advantages of connecting, and the timeline and what happens next. And then we'll wrap up with the questions that you send in during this meeting. At this point, I'll turn it back to Director Walker.
So a little bit about the project history and why the county is doing this project. Based on the age of the existing septic systems, the relatively small lots, and the close proximity of the existing well water supplies, it is anticipated that many homeowners will face complicated and costly repairs to their septic systems over the next 10 to 20 years. As a matter of fact, 21 properties have a more than immediate need to repair or replace those existing septic systems based on observation and reported problems. The county recommended the sewer to be extended to these properties as a health project with the sewer design taking into consideration the eventual need to extend the sewer to most of the surveyed area. The administration itself is providing survey costs, full design costs, as well as 50% of the deficit amount of the total project. We estimate that the total project construction cost will be right at $10.8 million. It's important to note this evening that we've had two presentations this evening. We just had one presentation with the homeowners who will be required to connect because they do have felon systems. And then this second meeting is for those who actually have the option to connect. So some things will be a little bit different because we wanted to target the audience. Without further ado, we're delighted to have joining us this evening Councilman Marks, and he will bring you remarks. Councilman?
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming tonight, and I'll be very brief. I'd like to begin by thanking the professional staff at the Baltimore County Department of Public Works and Transportation and Metro Finance for hosting this meeting. I'd also like to thank the professional staff at the Baltimore County Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability for their work. More than 3 years ago, Baltimore County received 3 requests for assistance from residents in Perry Hall Manor who had failing septic systems. The county also received an additional complaint at a 4th property regarding an illegal discharge of sewage onto the ground surface. Those 4 issues led to a review of sanitary conditions throughout the Perry Hall Manor neighborhood. Again, we are here tonight because of an investigation that resulted from those local requests. Some residents have expressed concerns about future development. As councilman, I've downzoned thousands of acres throughout the 5th District to lighten development. That is what we did in 2020. We downzoned 147 acres in this part of Perry Hall, including Perry Hall Manor, to the lowest level recommended within the urban-rural demarcation line, 1 house per acre. Again, the entire Perry Hall Manor neighborhood is now zoned DR1. Since 2018, our office has received constant inquiries about the status of the sanitary investigation. We are here tonight because the Department of Public Works and Transportation has made its recommendations. Those on all sides have the right to ask questions and express themselves. I've appreciated everyone who has contacted me with inquiries over the past month. We have sent those along to the Department of Public Works and Transportation and Metro Finance. To the best of my knowledge, the county has responded with very extensive, thoughtful answers, and at my request, the county has agreed to extend the deadline for resident responses to October 29th. I fully recognize that these recommendations have split the neighborhood. As councilman, I've always tried for win-win solutions. Unfortunately, here, it will be nearly impossible to find a solution where everyone is in agreement. I'm extremely empathetic toward those who do not want to pay tens of thousands of dollars. That is money that comes from college funds, from home improvements, from personal savings. At the same time, I'm also empathetic to those who are already dealing with collapsing septic systems. As of right now, there are over 20 homes with failing septics, and it is hard to imagine these conditions not spreading over the next decade. This problem will get worse, not just for current homeowners, but for anyone who tries to sell a home years into the future. Again, there are no easy solutions. Thank you again for your participation, and I look forward to a comprehensive and polite exchange tonight.
So before getting into how we conducted the survey and why we recommended extension of public sewer, I thought I would give a quick overview of septic systems and how they work. This picture is a schematic of a conventional gravity system that utilizes a standard septic tank and dry wells, also called seepage pits. This is the most common type of septic system design in Perry Hall Manor community. The sewage flows from the house to the septic tank where solids are settled out. The tank then allows sewage effluent to flow to the dry wells where the sewage is allowed to permeate into the surrounding soils. Over time, the soils around the dry wells lose their permeability and sewage levels begin to rise in the dry well. When the sewage levels are at or near the surface, we consider them to be hydraulically loaded or marginal. If the sewage levels are backing up into the house or onto the surface, we consider the systems failed. Next slide. This slide is a schematic of a slightly different type of conventional septic system design that consists of a septic tank and absorption trenches. A smaller number of homes in the Perry Hall Manor community have this type of system. Similar to a dry well system, the soils around the trenches gradually lose their permeability, resulting in hydraulic failure. Next slide. In 2018, we conducted a sanitary survey to assess the need to extend public water and sewer to the community. As part of that process, we compiled all of the existing info we had concerning existing wells, septic systems, perk test data, and water quality. Next, EPS staff went door to door to locate each septic system using GPS units. EPS staff attempted to meet or at least talk with every property owner to discuss any well and septic concerns. For those not home at the time of our visit, we left notes asking property owners to contact our office. EPS staff conducted physical inspections of each septic system that was readily accessible. This was a very basic inspection that focused primarily on sewage levels and hydraulic capacity of the system. Failing or marginal systems were identified as those as having sewage that was observed to be at or near the surface, or where the property owner reported frequent backups or the need to pump frequently. Keep in mind, my office would not approve any building permits for additions with such a system, and it is unlikely that any of those systems would pass a thorough septic system inspection conducted for property transfer. Next slide. The results of the survey revealed that about 20% of the septic systems were found to be marginal or failing. Equally concerning was the average age of the septic system in the study area was over 40 years old. Given that the life of a typical septic system is 20 to 30 years, it is likely that many of these systems will need to be replaced in the next 10 years. It should also be noted that some of the systems were unable to be inspected, and if there was not a surface failure, we just assumed that the system was okay. The available soil data indicated that many of the properties have poor or variable soil permeability and would not meet the standards for installing a conventional septic system. And given that a large percentage of properties are less than a half acre and constricted by wells and other property improvements, we anticipate that these properties would require a variance from Maryland Department of the Environment to repair the septic systems. It should be noted that this community was developed before any of the current regulations for well and septic systems, and most of these lots would never have been approved for building permit under the current regulations. From our experience, we expect that variance approvals would require the installation of a non-conventional septic system that would consist of a septic tank, as well as a sewage pretreatment unit, commonly referred to as a BAT, as well as a pressurized field system. These are very complicated systems, and I'll talk a little bit more about them shortly. But given the complexity of the cost and the complexity of the system, the cost and time involved in getting non-conventional repairs approved and installed, and knowing the number of properties that would need such systems, we did recommend that public sewer be extended to the community. There were a few water quality or yield issues reported by the residents. However, based on the information gathered, we did not find enough justification to warrant extension of public water at this time. And we noted that extending public sewer, which would eliminate the septic systems, would open up on-site options for well water supply issues that might arise. Next slide. Here is a map of the study area, and each dark gray circle shown represents a 100-foot radius around each of the water supplies in the community. I've noted before that the regulations prohibit the installation of septic systems within 100 feet of a drinking water well. And I wanted to show this map so you can see the high density of wells in this community and better understand the challenges involved with getting repairs to existing septic systems. Next slide. In this slide, I wanted to share with you the general costs that are associated with on-site septic system repairs. A standard conventional septic system costs between $10,000 and $15,000. However, as I mentioned, we anticipate that many properties will need to install a non-conventional septic system. This will require about $5,000 for a design consultant who will engineer the system and submit designs to my office for review and approval. As mentioned, these systems will also include a sewage pretreatment unit or BAT that costs about $15,000. And then there's the field system, which would probably be a pressurized drain field of some type that would cost around $30,000. So the total cost of a non-conventional systems will be in the range of $40,000 to $50,000 and take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to install. I have encountered many property owners over my 25 years with the county who assume that their septic systems are fine, and they go to sell their house or apply for a building permit to install a pool or an addition, only to be shocked to find that their septic system is in need to be replaced, and that the only solution is an on-site conventional septic system. So to avoid property owners finding themselves in this situation, we recommended to DPW&T that public sewer be extended to the community. Now, Lisa Eichels of the sewer design section is going to explain more how they evaluated our recommendation.
Here we're going to take a quick look at the timeline of how this started. So in 2018, we tasked our consultant KCI Technologies with taking a high-level look and evaluating the options for how sanitary sewer service could be provided to this community. The selected high-level concept maximized the use of gravity sewers while serving some of the properties with grinder pumps and low-pressure sewers based on the topography of those specific lots. Department of Public Works and Transportation made the decision to proceed with the project to install public sewer extension in the coming 3 to 7 years. The preliminary estimated cost of the project was developed from this high-level concept. That concept and cost was provided to Metro Finance to determine your estimated notice of assessment. Jess?
So here in 2021, the community property owners were set a package containing a letter, estimated sewer notice of assessment, a fact sheet about the project, a connection response form, and a Metro construction loan deferral information.
So the next step in 2022, you're going to start to see surveyors in the area that will collect data on each of the sites. They'll prepare a detailed design and will advertise the contract for bids. Once we have a bid price from the contractor, our Metro Finance office will determine the final cost for property owners.
The green estimated notice of assessment included in your package was based on the concept designed by KCI Technologies. Our engineering department will finalize the project in the design phase. Once the project is designed, bid, and awarded to a contractor, a final notice of assessment will be issued to all the property owners. This will have the final determined costs associated with your property. Next slide. Each property owner received an estimated notice of assessment in your package. On the front side is all the charges associated with your property. Each sheet may be different from your neighbor. Each property's charges are determined by their average front foot assessment. This means that each person will pay towards the sewer benefit and the deficit charges depending on their assessment. Also, each person's plumber's bill that is to be financed can be different as well, which is not included on this sheet. On the back is a detailed description of the charges. Each charge shown is broken down into the assessment charge and the annual charge. The annual charge is what will be included on your annual tax bill. Section 1 is the sewer benefit assessment. This is a special assessment levied to recover construction costs for sewer mains. Normally amortized over 40 years at 6.42%, this charge may be paid off in full at any time. All properties that are assessed can be improved and unimproved. Assessment footage is normally the average width of the property. However, some properties may also be assessed for a side or parallel street footage abutting the sewer main. The principal rate is $28.57 per foot, and the annual rate, which is the principal and interest, is $2 per foot for residential properties. Section 2 is broken into 3 charges: the deficit, property connection charge, and the system connection charge. The deficit is the difference between the cost to construct the sewer mains and the revenue received from the benefit assessments and the construction cost allowances. This will be shown in the next slide. This charge is normally amortized over 40 years at 5% and may be paid off at any time. This charge is based on the assessable footage and the deficit rate for this project, which is $248.999392 per foot. Since all properties have different costs, there's no standard deficit rate per foot. The property connection charge is the cost of the connection from the sewer main to the property line. This would include a grinder pump if one is needed. This does not include the plumber's bill to connect from the sewer cleanout or the grinder pump to the home. This is also financed at 5% for 40 years on the annual tax bill and can be paid off in full at any time. The system connection charge goes towards the cost of the master facilities necessary to enable the sewer system to operate. This includes filtration and treatment plants, transmission lines, pumping stations, etc. This charge can also be financed at 5% for 40 years, or it can be paid off at any time. The final part of this section is the total construction loan charges for the 3 preceding charges. Section 3 is a total of Section 1 and 2. Section 4 would be if the property had any deferred charges. Deferred charges are for frontage along a sewer main for various reasons that are not billable at the present time. These charges may become payable in part or full if the properties are subdivided, connections installed, or the property is redeveloped. The annual sewer benefit and construction loan charges will be added to the property tax bill you receive in July following the notice of completion. Benefit assessments and construction loan charges are liens against the property, not the property owner. The county does not require these charges to be paid off to sell or transfer the property to a new owner, except in certain situations involving property subdivisions and commercial properties. Next slide. This is the estimated financial analysis, which is based on the concept plan and all the property owners connecting to the public sewer. This is a detailed breakdown of how the deficit is determined. From the overall construction cost, the connection charges, benefit assessments, and construction cost allowances are subtracted. The county is covering the cost of the pumping station, which is included in the construction cost allowance. This determines the total deficit. This amount is then split between the county and property owners. The county council will vote on a resolution to approve the county's share of the deficit. Next slide. This is the overall summary of the charges. The property owners will pay approximately 51%, and the county will pay approximately 49% of the total construction costs based on all property owners connecting. Please note that the total paid by the property owners, which is approximately $5.5 million, can be financed over the 40 years. The average annual amount financed is $2,300 for each property owner and can be transferred if the property is sold. Next slide. This slide depicts the costs broken down. The red is Baltimore County's share of the cost and the white is the property owner's share. The county is paying half of the deficit, which is 35% of the project total, and the construction cost allowances, which is 13% of the overall project. The property owners are paying benefit assessments, connection charges, and deficit, which equal 5%, 12%, and 35% respectively. Next slide. This schematic shows the overall view of the construction and how it serves your house. The county will install all the items in solid blue. This includes the sewer main and the sewer connection to your property line. These charges are covered in the green estimated notice of assessment. If the property owner decides not to connect as part of the project, the county will not install the sewer house connection, which is the T off the main sewer line. If the property owner connects to the sewer system after the completion of construction, the homeowner would be responsible for all permits, hiring a qualified contractor to make the connection to the sewer main, a licensed plumber to connect from the house to the cleanout, and abandon the septic system. The items in the dash green will be the homeowner's responsibility to connect from the cleanout to your home. This part will be installed by a plumber of your choice, and the plumber's bill can be financed on your tax bill. Next slide. When the construction has been completed and the property owners receive the notice of completion, connecting to the sewer system can begin. You would hire a licensed plumber of your choice to connect to the cleanout or the grinder pump located near your property line to your home. The plumber would obtain a permit for connection. Fees included in the plumbing permit would be the sewer house connection, a fee for connecting existing sewer features, and the sewer service prorated. The plumber's bill can also be financed on the tax bill. Once you connect to the sewer system, the sewer service charge will be an annual fee added to your tax bill based on the number of plumbing fixtures in the home. Each plumbing fixture, which is a sink, toilet, dishwasher, etc., is assigned a fixture unit value. The total of the fixture values is used to determine which tier is billed. Most properties in Baltimore County fall into the F25 or F35 fixture rate. Over time, the county is aware that even the best maintained septic systems will eventually fail and require replacement solutions. Given the conditions and the space available, it's expected that more property owners would have needed to replace with innovative systems that come at a high cost and can take months to a year to implement. Instead, with the extension of public sewer, property owners can connect to the sewer services during the time of the project or independently after the project ends. When connecting at the time of the project, all the charges shown are able to be financed over 40 years through the county and paid via the annual tax bill or can be paid off at any time. Connecting at the time of the project enables the property owners to include any amount of the plumber's bill not covered by a grant into the 40-year financing by the county. We also understand plumbers' labor and material costs may increase for property owners who decide to connect after the project ends. Plumbing contractors often charge less when serving multiple properties in the same area and charge more when serving individual properties. Next slide. All the financing options are being offered to the property owners who are required to connect and property owners who have the option to connect. Baltimore County allows financing of the construction loan charges at 40 years at 5% on the tax bill. This is an assumable lien and can be transferred if the property is sold. The construction loan may also be paid off in full at any time. The Metro Benefit and Construction Loan Deferral is a program for homeowners at least 60 years of age as of July 1 of the year that the charges would be assessed on the property tax bill. You must be eligible, and you would be eligible for this, and you must be eligible for the homeowner's tax credit by reason of income. Also, disabled taxpayers may qualify. For more detailed information, please see the mailer in your packet. This program allows the annual benefit the benefit charge and the annual construction loan charge to be deferred. There's also private financing, which taxpayers may choose to get a private loan to pay the charges off. Terms and financing information would be between you and your lender. Kevin?
The BRF Grant program is an option that will cover the cost of the plumber's bill. And that means that's the cost of connecting the house to the public system and abandoning the septic system. EPS administered the BRF Grant program from money that is allocated to the county each year from Maryland Department of the Environment. It's usually in around $500,000 to $700,000 a year. Each property owner must apply and compete against other eligible applicants in the county. Failing and marginal systems are prioritized over other systems. However, we do make every effort to work with each property owner to get funding if it is available. Property owners should not apply for this grant until at least the sewer project is under construction. Next slide. The linked deposit program is a financing option offered by Maryland Department of the Environment, whereby property owners can obtain below market rate financing for projects that will reduce nutrients to the bay. Details about this program can be found on the MDE website with the link that is provided here. Next slide. So to summarize, the advantages of connecting to public sewer will be overall improved community sanitation and groundwater quality. The future sale of your home will not be hindered by a septic system inspection. Future property improvements, including additions and pools, will not be restricted by septic system requirements and limitations. And the project can be financed over 40 years with an assumable loan that does not have to be paid back when you sell the property. Next slide. So the disadvantages of not connecting. If you're given the option and you choose not to connect with this project, you still will be required to pay the sewer benefit and you will be billed annually with the property taxes. When the septic system does fail, the owner will be responsible to hire a contractor and pay for the sewer house connection, and owners will not be allowed to repair the septic system if public sewer is available. If the property owner applies for a building permit to improve their property, they may be required to connect at that time if the building permit's to be approved. The sewer house connection and plumber's bill will not be financeable by the county, and the owner will be responsible to pay for these costs. And finally, the potential suppressed resale value of properties without public sewer connection would be another detraction of not connecting. Next slide.
So now I'll take a deeper look at the timeline. So this winter, you're going to start to see surveyors in your neighborhood. They'll be out to capture data on the topography, the property corners, location of existing septic systems, and information on where your plumbing exits your home. Once you've collected all the survey data, our consultant will develop the layout of the sewer mains and low pressure sewers. They will identify and obtain any environmental permits required for the project. If any property acquisitions are needed for the project, they will be identified during this time. It is expected the design will take 2 years to complete. When the design is complete, all permits obtained, the project will be advertised for construction bid. The lowest responsive bid will be selected. As Jessica described before, the bid will be used to calculate the final notice of assessment and a community meeting will be scheduled. The time to bid, award, and begin construction for the project is approximately 6 months. It is anticipated that construction of this project will begin in late 2024. The preliminary estimated time to construct the entire system of gravity sewers, low pressure sewers, grinder pumps, pumping station, and force main is 2 years. Once construction is complete in late 2026, the notice of completion letter and a requirement to connect will be sent to you when the system is complete and available for service. The deadline to connect to the sewer system is 1 year from the date of this notice. By 2027, after you receive your notice of completion letter, it will be time for you to hire a licensed plumber to make your connection from your home to the public sewer. The plumber you hire will also be responsible for abandoning your septic system. They will abandon the system by pumping out your existing tanks and then backfilling the tanks with clean fill or stone. Yes?
In your packet, you received a pink connection response form. This form allows us to move forward with the design phase of knowing how many people will connect to the system. The councilman received a request for the deadline to be extended, so we have extended this deadline from October 8th to October 29th. All the materials from tonight's meeting will be added to the project website soon after.
Thank you, everyone. This is Jana again, and I'd like to make you aware, for those who haven't already submitted a question, that we do have in the lower right corner of your WebEx screen a Q&A function. If you click that, it'll open for you to put in the question you'd like to type, but also to select who you'd like to direct it to. So please, as a reminder, select all panelists in that pull-down menu, and that'll assure that everyone here who's working to respond to your questions will receive that and we can get to it timely. With that said, we've received a number of questions so far, and we'll go ahead and start getting those answered for you. Please just bear with us while we start to put those out there for you.
There's a question in here that asks about the 21 septic systems that require immediate repair. Will they be required to fix their systems to remediate health concerns prior to extension being completed? I realize it's a difficult task, and essentially, certainly homeowners are required to maintain their septic systems in a way that does not cause sewage to surface onto the ground. So that would be something that they would have to manage if they didn't choose to try to do an on-site solution. They would have to pump the system at a frequency necessary to stop any overflow to the surface. There's also water conservation measures that they could try to live by and reduce their water consumption, but it is a difficult process, obviously waiting, and we recognize that, and that's why we're trying to move forward as quickly as possible with getting the sewer available to those who need it.
We had a question asking of why we need a commitment on whether you will connect or you don't want a connection by the end of October. This allows our engineering group to get out there and get the design started. And this gives them the information that they need to complete their design. It also asks what is being done differently during construction for those that want to connect and those that do not. Those that want to connect will have the sewer house connection installed on their property with a clean out on their property line. The people that do not wish to connect will not have that sewer house connection installed at all.
There's another question about if we choose to maintain our septic, are we going to be allowed to remain on septic in perpetuity, or is connection inevitable? The answer to that is that you would be required to connect if there was a need to repair the septic system, replacing the tank or the drain field. That would be required at that time if sewer is available. And the other option would be if you submit a building permit for an improvement, for an addition or a pool or something of that nature that would have an impact on the septic system's ability to function or be have the capacity to support that use, then we would also require connection in order to approve that building permit.
One question came in wanting to clarify the estimated notice of assessment. Section 1 for the sewer benefit assessment, that is, has the interest rate of 6.42, and Section 2 has the interest rate of 5%. A question came in about the Perry Hall Mansion. The Perry Hall Mansion is being required to connect, so they will connect to the sewer.
There's a question about why failing systems are prioritized for grant funding when we're all having to pay for it. I think you have to keep in mind that the BRF Grant program is something that is available to all county residents, and not just people in the Perry Hall Manor community. This is a program that we've had in place for over 10 years. It is utilized for people upgrading their septic systems as well as to connecting to public sewer. So the money that's available is we have to prioritize it according to MDE protocols, and failing septic systems obviously have a higher priority for people who are maybe not in the same level of need. We also have a limited amount of funding each year. We spend all the money that we get from MDE, but I will say this, that we try to accommodate everybody who applies to make sure we can get funding, and occasionally we can get additional funding from MDE. So I'm hopeful that the BRF funding can be available to everybody. If not for the immediate year they request it, perhaps the next year there might be funding available for those. So hopefully that answers that question. Thanks.
We had a question come in about what is the sewer service prorated charge on the plumbing permit. This At the time of connection, when your plumber would get the plumbing permit to connect to the public sewer, because we bill the sewer service annually on the tax bill, the sewer service prorate charge pays for the sewer that you would use from the time of permit until the next tax bill. And then once the next tax bill hits, the annual sewer service charge would be on your tax bill. How much does a sewer permit cost? Right now at this time, the permits office handles that, but I believe it is $30 for a sewer house connection fee.
This is Jana. I'd like to jump in with some clarification about the materials we've reviewed here today and the questions we're receiving about the recording. We will be putting this recording and the slide deck out on the website that is shown in the letter you received, and we'll put that link again up for you to see to get back to the website. We've had some questions about some of the links and the resources we're referring to. They are all in there, and as I mentioned, you'll get the recording. And just a quick reminder, if we don't get to your question, if it's specific or we just don't have enough time, please be assured that we're going to follow back up with everyone who has posted into the Q&A.
There was a question about if a current septic system tank is located in the rear of a property and clean out in the rear of the property, will sewer hookup be located in the rear of the house, or will the hookup be rerouted to the front of the house? The county will be installing the public portion of the mains, and those from preliminary evaluation will be located in the roads. So we'll bring, if you're agreeing to connect, we'll bring the service over to your property line, and then your plumber will run this connection from where the plumbing exits your home to that clean out.
We had a question about who is paying for Perry Hall Mansion's extension. At this time, Baltimore County would be responsible for the charges.
There's a question about where exactly the main line for the community is being placed. Will the roads be taken up or placed along road in yards? Like I mentioned before, in the preliminary concept plan, the plan is for the sewer mains to be located in the roadway. Final determination will be made after we do surveys, but it's unlikely they'll be moved outside the roadway.
So I just want to clarify what the county will install if you opt in to connect. The county will install the main sewer lines in the road, and then if you opt in to connect, they will install the sewer house connection from the main line to about your property line. At that point, there will be a clean out or a grinder pump. Then the property owner would be responsible for hiring a plumber to run from your property line to your home. There was another question. If you choose to finance over 40 years with the county, can you pay off early at any time? Yes, you may. The 3 construction loan line items and the sewer benefit, they all can be paid off at any time. We just ask that one of the line items be paid in full. So you can't put like 10,000 towards one charge and 400 towards another. We ask that that line item be paid off in full.
Thank you again, everyone, for your patience while we are working to get answers into your questions here.
To review the total cost breakdown, because this project has been deemed a health project, the county will allow the financing of the plumber's bill, and they also put in 50% of the deficit. We also cover any construction cost allowances, which are fees that go, like we're covering the cost of the pumping station. We're going to pay for that. So the county will pay those. The health project, with allowing to pay 50% of the deficit, that is, a way to help the residents, because we are saying that this is a health project and we would like everyone to connect. If this was a petition project, where homeowners came to me and said, I want to extend sewer, we would not allow any money kicked in from the county to cover part of the deficit. It would have to be financed totally by the homeowners. So because of the health issue, that is why we do kick in money towards the deficit. And like always, we do cover the construction cost allowances. If property owners choose not to connect, why do you still have to pay the sewer benefit? This is throughout the county as a whole. Even vacant lots or improved lots all require to pay sewer benefit if a main sewer line is installed in front of your property. You do have the option to connect to it, and you do have the benefit of connecting to that. So that's why all properties pay the sewer benefit charge.
Another question is, if you opt out of connection now and you change your mind, when will connection be available to you? Once the sewer is constructed and active, it is available to you at that time, and those costs to connect will be yours to bear, and they are not financeable at that point.
A question about fees or interest charged if you qualify for the Metro Deferral Program. I don't believe, I know there's not a fee, but to talk about the interest, the Office of Budget and Finance would best handle that question because they do run the program. But I do believe that the interest accrues while the fee is being deferred. But the Office of Budget and Finance would be able to answer that question best.
Thanks, everyone. Working through another one for you here.
There's a question that talks about having a house below road grade, and if you needed a grinder pump, if the grinder pump will be located close to the property or the house, the dwelling. Yes, we typically try to accommodate the grinder location. And the grinder location is the one that's going to be placed within reachable distance. However, you will have to grant a right of entry at perpetuity for us to maintain it.
The question, if you don't have a packet, if you can please, take the information below the email address, please email me and with your address, and I will look into that.
Thanks again for your patience. We see there's a question that's come in asking why was this meeting not held in person? And I wanted just to address that it was due to safety precautions, and we do want to respect everyone's opportunity to ask questions. So that's why we want to make sure that it's clear we are accessible to you for phone calls, for emails. Obviously, not everyone will get their answer in this meeting, but we'll definitely be sure to speak with you afterwards if there's still anything that you need from us.
There is a question about who is responsible for maintenance of grinder pumps. Because this is a health project, any grinder pumps that are part of the project will be owned and maintained by Baltimore County.
There's a question about how is the grinder pump powered. These are electrical grinder pumps. They will be connected to your electrical service, and you'll be responsible for the electrical consumption. But as my colleague said, the operation and maintenance is responsibility of Baltimore County Bureau of Utilities.
And I want to thank everyone who's already contributed to the questions and to the answers. We're actually at the point where we want to start to wrap this up. So we're just looking for any final ones we can add in before we go into our end comments. So thanks for bearing with us while we just check through the list one more time. All right, I do want to come back to, as promised, the website where you'll be able to access both the slide deck presentation and the recording that we're doing for this meeting today, as well as other resources that we will continue to make available as we develop more FAQs and such information. So I'm putting on my screen here the project website for anyone who needs to take it down. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and put back to our project team, ask if there's anyone who would like to make any final comments as we bring our meeting to a close.
Anna and team, thank you so much this evening for the presentation and the work that you have put into this presentation to bring to the residents. Before I bring official closing remarks, I'd like to give the councilman who has graciously enough stayed with us throughout this presentation a chance to give any comments.
I just want to thank all of the staff for their participation tonight. I also want to thank Jessica and Jana and everyone who's been answering the questions from the community. Every time I've received a question from a resident, I've gotten it over to you, and I think the responses have been very extensive. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. As I said at the beginning, I know this is a very difficult process. I know that it's divided the community. I know that there are no easy answers, and I am empathetic to all points of view. Having said that, we'll move forward from here. And, I do thank again the team from the Department of Public Works and DEPS for all the work they put into tonight.
Thank you, Councilman. Residents, we'd like for you to know that as the county and as a representative from the county executive's office, we are bringing this project because we saw a need for the project, not to cause any undue harm to anybody, or we understand that there's a whole bunch of financial implications because of this project. But we definitely foresee that there can be some concerns 10 to 20 years down the road, as we mentioned earlier during the presentation. So the county is here to offer up the extension because of that as a health project. We want to remind you that the questions that you've asked this evening will be listed and they will be answered. We have your emails. If we did not get to any questions that came over this evening, we will be answering those questions so that we can be totally transparent about the process as we continue to move forward. We are available. You have our email address here, and we encourage you, if you still have questions, please feel free to give us a call or email us the questions that you have. We thank you for attending this community meeting this evening and appreciate it. Have a good evening.